Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. We are back after a 2-week hiatus, once for Thanksgiving and once for lack of news. So this is episode 319. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and we canceled an episode due to lack of news, and this week there's not a whole lot. So yeah. So we're really struggling with some news topics. But we're here to still bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of the past week. So yeah. Thank you all for your patience of no shows for the past 2 weeks. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So in a couple weeks, there will also be a missed show due to Christmas. So I think that's like 3 weeks away. So just a heads up on that. But I think especially if news topics are going to be a bit light, I may do a gift guide, like a gaming gift guide, either next week or the following week. Or I'll just set it up and kind of have that in the can to do. So yeah, and I think I might even do 2 separate gift guides to do like a video gaming gift guide and maybe a tabletop gift guide. I think that would probably be pretty good. So, but yes, we have 4 news items today. One thing that I did not include because it's just a quick announcement, but the Siren Isle mini patch for World of Warcraft will drop on the 17th. So that is coming a little bit sooner than I had anticipated, or exactly when it was supposed to, and time just crept up. But it's a mini patch, and I've already covered what's in it. So you can check that out. It might have been a last episode actually. So yeah, why don't we get right into this week's headlines? So, our first headline, GamesIndustry.biz reports that Firaxis has shifted its development and release strategies for Civ 7 due to the unexpected number of units sold for Civ 6 on Switch specifically. So what this means, it's basically like a 3-part thing of number one, traditionally they have released on PC first and then worked with like other developers to help port games to console, and instead they are going to do a simultaneous release. Number two, they are going to do cross-save functionality. And jeez, I forgot what number 3 was. But with cross-save functionality, I expect it means that you will like sign in to like a Firaxis account or something, and be able to continue your saves across platform. So, and then, multiple levels of detail. Yeah, I should have been able to remember that one. So what that means is essentially having both like high res and low res versions of like textures and sprites, models, and whatnot. And also like different level of detail features. So maybe like draw distance and fog of war and things like that. Um, uh, so to keep frame rates, at their target, regardless of which system. So, something like the Switch might employ sort of lower res textures and maybe like a shallower draw distance, whereas like PS5 obviously can handle a lot more, so it would be much closer to PC. But also, uh, because these are typically options that you can do on PC anyway, it's kind of using that sliding scale that you often have with like your graphics settings and incorporating that into the development process for consoles as well. So, uh, yeah, it was. They were like, "Wow, it's really popular on Switch. I guess we should plan for this." With Civ 7 from the get go. So, that's pretty cool. Always unexpected for things like that. Next up, this is another article from GamesIndustry.biz. Reports that EA noted. I don't know if they've currently held the title within the past couple of years, but they were a long-time contender for worst company in America. EA is uncharacteristically good for what they're doing in this article. They have added 23 new patents to their library of free accessibility tools for developers. So this is EA has a library of accessibility tools, of things that they've developed that they allow other developers to use free of charge as a sort of like general wellness like initiative to basically increase accessibility for everybody in gaming. So some of the patents in this latest batch include plugins for photosensitivity analysis, intelligent personalized speech recognition. So it didn't get into the nuts and bolts of each one, but what this sounds like is tools like a tool to better understand an individual's like speech patterns and mannerisms, to increase accuracy for recognizing like speech commands or voice to text and things like that. And generating expressive speech audio from text. So, and we've seen this on other platforms as well. Like, it's no longer doing sort of the circa 2000s like robotic voice for reading text to audio, but including options for just having a more expressive speech patterns when reading text to someone, like to a player listener, so that it's much more conversational and less of a robotic AI reading text to you. This is great. And this is a model for what other companies should do. So an unexpected rare win for EA. And it's 23 patents. I don't know how big the library is currently, but the fact that there is already an existing library is pretty awesome. So yeah, I hope, and this is what. So my personal feeling is that patents for like general well-being and like health in particular should be freely available, or rather like the patent's there to inform like who developed it, but it's morally good to allow others to freely use those tools. Um, you know, for something where it's a more novel purpose, like if you develop a technology that, you know, introduces new ways to, I don't know, make movies or something, uh, that's less of like a general well-being and more of like an industry thing. Um, so in that regard, I think it's more of a case of making licensing affordable. But that's getting into a whole copyright, patent, IP law type thing, and that's not the focus here. The focus is, uh, yeah, more tools for accessibility in games. I really wish more developers took advantage of them, because some of them, Nintendo, tend to actually not be very accommodating for accessibility. Yeah, and this is a thing where people should actually have a gripe with Nintendo about it. Because it's often done in the name of like preserving the intended game experience. Uh, when there are so many different features that could be included to improve accessibility in games. Um, and I guess for those who don't know what I'm talking about when I refer to accessibility is accommodating any needs for people playing the game. So, um, if somebody has limited hearing or is deaf, um, if somebody has reduced vision or is blind, people who have issues with motor skills, um, people, very basic one, color blindedness. When you think so often about how indicators are like red or green, including options to accommodate colorblindedness, so that you know uh, so that you're not relying specifically on just a color. Um, and a simple thing would be also like different shapes for those indicators. Um, but yeah, just accommodating people's needs when playing games. Another very basic thing that video games should have are either limited flashing effects or the options to reduce those for people who are photosensitive, to reduce issues with um, seizures. So, yeah, rare win from EA. And hopefully they continue with this program, because that's cool. So, next up, GOG, formerly Good Old Games, but I guess they technically go by GOG now, has a new policy, as reported by Ars Technica, to continue providing support and maintenance for games that have been delisted from its store. So this is this is unusual, because normally it's up to the developers to provide maintenance and support for things. But Good Old Games has decided to take it a step further, in that they will continue to update and sort of patch in fixes and things for games, as long as they aren't, like, it's in an agreement with the original developers, as long as like they're not like it's some sort of, they can't like drastically modify the game's code in any meaningful way, as part of the agreement, but they can say, like, provide support for newer operating systems, or network architecture. So, namely, this came up because with the re-release, or the, I guess, the remasters of Warcraft and Warcraft 2, Blizzard is pulling those from the GOG store. So they have come out and said, number one, if you've already purchased it, you will not lose access to it. So you will still be able to access it offline. And that they will continue to provide support for those titles. So this will be a thing where we'll see if there's any pain points after it happens. GOG's also gone a step further and provided a discount until it gets delisted for anyone who wants to buy them. So yeah, I think this is great. I think this is an interesting case of games preservation because that's what GOG tends to specialize in. So yeah, because previously there weren't really, like, prior to the remasters, I don't know if they were available to purchase in BattleNet. So it might have been relying on places like GOG to get these titles. So yeah. But yeah, and to see if any companies that delist games try and test this policy of what are they going to allow. I don't know if there will be a lot of pushback. Because I'm sure there's some sort of like license agreement and stuff. So like Blizzard's gotten money, I'm sure, from having these titles on GOG. But yeah. So if you want to play the originals, as opposed to the remasters, and you don't want to necessarily have to tie it to a BattleNet account, get it from GOG while you still can. I think it's like next week that they get pulled, so there is that. Finally, Concerned Ape, Eric Barone, posted a blog update for Haunted Chocolatier. Main points are still working on it. He, talked about the process of Stardew 1.6 and what started out as just providing some maintenance tweaks and everything, and then and that he was going to advise like a team of developers that he works with for these kinds of things, and they were going to do most of the work. And then he got into it, and he's like, oh, well, maybe if I could, maybe I'll add a couple content updates as well. Like I'll put some new stuff in, and then that snowballed into like this massive update full of all sorts of new stuff. And he said, listen, it's hard for me to walk away from Stardew Valley because he loves Stardew Valley. It's still such a big hit. There's always new stuff that he wants to do with it. That said, he said, during that process, Haunted Chocolatier has kind of gathered dust a little bit on the shelf, but it's not like he's not actively working on it. It's that he is going through the same process to create Haunted Chocolatier that he did with Stardew Valley, so he's doing it all himself. He said he's not going to rush it. It gets done when it gets done. And that he's going to continue iterating on stuff until it is where he wants it to be. He also noted He's not always going to share notes when there's progress. He's going to share notes when he wants to. So just the fact that there aren't regular blog updates doesn't mean that there isn't work getting done or there aren't press releases and everything. And that he will not, like he did with Stardew Valley, he is not going to do the early access route. Is that he will release the game when he feels that it's ready for full release. So, I mean, and now he has the advantage of having Stardew Valley money. So he's able to do that and not have to worry about, finances. So, yeah, it was an update. It did show off some new screenshots of things and some new artwork and sprites and everything. I would say, there's no timetable whatsoever. My personal feeling is he can take as long as he wants. There's still, Stardew Valley is the kind of game where you can go back and replay it. And with mods, like expanded Stardew Valley, there's a lot of content that is out there for Stardew. And the game is so much bigger now than it was when it originally launched. So I mean, if like you're just a Concerned Ape fan and like all you play is Stardew Valley and you're just like hungry for Haunted Chocolatier, I mean, maybe that seems like an extreme scenario. In my mind, there's plenty of other things to play in the meantime. So I'm happy. Let him develop. Let him cook. As long as he wants. Because he has that mindset that to give some praise to Nintendo, that Nintendo has of like, we're not going to rush games out. We're not going to rush a game to launch. We're going to keep doing it until it's ready. And it's like the best that we can make it. And that sort of mindset is how we got Stardew Valley, and I'm excited to see what we'll get with Haunted Chocolatier. Because I know at the very least it will be an incredibly well-polished game. So, and that's it for the week. So I said there wasn't a lot of news, and that is exactly the case. But so thank you all for joining me. So as I said, in the next couple of weeks, if depending on how many news topics there are, might do a news recap for the week or might do a gift guide if you're a last minute shopper and looking for stuff for the people in your life that play games. But yeah, we'll have to see. I have not expected the news to kind of die down as much as it has. So it really shows that like we are at the end of a big console cycle. Which is funny because like Xbox and PlayStation I think have already like the big talk is the PS5 Pro. Which is not a new console. It's just an update to an existing one. So I don't know. I mean, listeners, if there's stuff that I'm not covering that you're like, what is going on? Let me know. I because like I have a whole feed of just gaming news that I follow, and so much of it is always just like following. Like it's always like a particular game will come out and then it just dominates the news cycle, but it might not actually be a noteworthy game. So yeah. That said, We will be back next week. Well, we're planning on being back next week, so we'll have some sort of content for you. And if you want to see more of that content, you can check out our website at 8-bitadventures.com. If you would like to help support that content, the best way to do that is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And it is charged monthly. So you pay the monthly fee, and that helps support all of the content. It's not per post, it's not per project. Big shout out and thank you to all of my patrons. Thank you for your continued support. And finally, our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And I think he's at PAX Unplugged, so go, if you see him, go say hi. With that, we're all set for this week. So, as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.